Hi, this is Shauna, the CEO and founder of Fuel Talent. In January 2019, we launched the What Fuels You podcast, and since that time, I have had the honor of featuring and highlighting leaders and their incredible stories. Though I'm eager to continue sharing these stories with you, I want to make space for different and relevant content for this unique and challenging time. While we all navigate the COVID-19 pandemic together, on this podcast and the upcoming ones, I'll be having more focused conversations with leaders to help answer questions, get key insights, and share stories of inspiration around how they and their teams are adapting during this new reality. I hope you enjoy these episodes of the What Fuels You podcast. Today's guest on the What Fuels You podcast is Joe Heitzeberg. Joe is the CEO and co-founder of CrowdCow. CrowdCow's mission is to help people better meet and to bring people together, farmers and consumers, families, and friends. Prior to CrowdCow, he was the co-founder and president of Madrona Venture Labs, the in-house startup incubator of Madrona Venture Group, which produced venture-backed high-tech startups, including Mighty AI and Reply Yes. Before that, he was the co-founder and CEO of Media Piston, which was acquired by Upwork in 2012 and IPO'd in 2018, and Snapvine, acquired by White Pages in 2008. Joe graduated from the University of Washington, go Dogs, with a degree in computer science, and he has an MBA from MIT. He's also a husband and a father and a super cool dude, and I'm really psyched to have you on the podcast. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm starting with rapid fire today. The most obvious question, which you probably get asked at every single party, which is, what is your favorite cut of meat?
Ribeye.
And do you like it raw or not raw, but how's my dad order it? My dad eats it rare.
Black and blue.
My dad eats it rare, and it's like my mom's like, oh, it's still mooing. So rare or well done?
I'm a medium rare guy. So
Me too.
Pretty traditional. I like to sear make sure you get a crust on it though, sear it super hot.
A little blackened.
Warm up I don't like cold meat. I like it at least warm in the very middle.
Yeah. And who is your favorite band?
My favorite band? What have I been listening to? Guys, should be faster on this. You know what I've been getting back into right now is the Doves. They're like a British band that disappeared, but they came out with a single.
Well, I know you're a guitarist, so I was going to say, who's your favorite guitar hero?
I actually saw Eddie Van Halen in concert when I was little.
Nice.
I don't know if he's my favorite hero, but he's pretty good.
Okay, a business question. What is a leadership trait that you most admire in others?
I most admire empathy. People who are able to show empathy and connect and yet still achieve really high performance. That's the magic skill. That's the place
that perfect. And in this moment, specifically with COVID-19, it's probably more relevant than ever, I would imagine. Yeah. Okay, so if there was a book written about you and about your life, what would it be called? That's a tough one.
Skiing off the trail.
Skiing off the trail, I like that. Okay, so perfect segue. What is your dream, I guess it would be snowboarding destination vacation?
Hella skiing or cat skiing. I've never done either one of those. That's my dream.
That's like your dream?
On a perfect powder day, just to be plunked right on the top and just to be in my own little by myself world with just nature and the swish of the perfect powder. That's my dream.
Yeah.
That's what we're always looking for when we ski, right?
Everyone says that. Yeah, I just skied right before this whole pandemic hit. I was in Montana and have never skied like snow like this. It was insane. I felt like I was floating. It was awesome. When I was thinking about friends and clients of mine that I thought were probably having a moment right now, either extreme difficult or extreme kind of crazy busy, flooded with business, I thought of CrowdCow. But before we get into like how this moment has impacted your business, I'm just curious about the origination story of CrowdCow.
Sure. Well, it started my co-founder Ethan and I. We had a mutual friend named Brendan, and he had this awesome setup for beef, where he knew the farmer, he supported them. He would drive his car out there once a year, and he'd buy like a whole cow. And he would brag about like it tastes better. You could taste his cow, and he knew he had this storytelling around this farmer's family and multi-generational, and was so envious of that and it was talking about that and realizing like I love steak, but I don't have that and I can't buy it.
Experience, yeah.
And in the $100 billion beef market in this country, with all of the environmental concerns behind, like you don't see at the meat counter, all the bad things going on beyond the meat counter, and you're scared and there's label confusion. You do see a little orange sticker that says special, but not particularly special, is it? And we just realized in that framing between what our friend Brendan had and what the establishment offers, that gulf is opportunity, entrepreneurial opportunity. So Portlandia meets mobile phones, and the farms are in, and we would have a vision for a much better way. So helping people eat better meat and creating this connection between people is the mission. It was from the very beginning. And I would say, and people laughed at us then. And I remember
I didn't laugh when I heard about it. I thought it was a killer idea. I was just curious about the execution of it.
But people remember I had like, I'd quit Madrona Venture Labs when we wrapped up the first fund, and it was like time to do something else or renew. And it was like, I'm gonna do something else. People were like, what are you gonna do? And I would describe this idea we were working on, and they would literally say, ha, that's really funny. You should totally do that. But what are you gonna do? I'm asking, what are you gonna do?
What are you really gonna do?
Like, what are you going to do with your life? I was asking a different question, not what are you doing right now for fun?
Yeah.
I'm asking like, what are you going to do with your energy and talent and, longer term? I'm like, no, we're going to sell a cow, crowdfunding. And we're going
I think it's, when I first heard about it, it was one of those, like, why didn't I think of that moments for me? Because we did have the story of the farmer and friends and my husband, as you know, I've told you, is like Mr. Beef. And so he takes it very seriously. Luckily, and it's also perfect timing. I mean, everybody wants to know the farm to table, where they're getting their food.
Very on trend. It was on trend back then. We knew the tech industry maybe looked at it like, what are you doing? But we knew from our testing and conversations with people at Starbucks, random strangers, there was excitement. And we sold our first cow very quickly, and we just started pedaling, and it suddenly just got away from us. The momentum had a life of its own. And pretty soon we were like, I remember a year later after starting it, we're like, well, what are you working on? You still working on that thing? Yeah. How's it going? And I would give them some revenue figures. That was only a year in, where we were kind of approaching $1 million run rate or something, and it was like, wow.
Yeah, it's legit.
And but now, this morning, so it's really gratifying to go like, no one's heard of you. They laugh at you. So like this morning, the Today Show, okay, they're doing a special on the big meat industry is really harsh, and there's going to be limits to how you can get beef, and Costco's rationing now, and it's really scary, and here's why, and And then the anchor goes, but there are some places online you can get it.
Did the anchor say Crowd Cow? Oh my gosh, yay. Wait, did you know that was going to happen, or did somebody just randomly see it?
We don't have a PR person or an PR agency. It just happened, I think.
Oh my gosh, we need to get this. We need to get the pod out quickly now.
And it was like, it was really gratifying to be like, wow, we're definitely out there, and we're working hard every day. And
it's huge. I would be making you do a dance if I were there. I'd be like, that's big news. This is a moment for you. I mean, that's a huge deal. I have so many questions about that origination, because I'm just picturing, okay, so we've got this idea, we want to sell a cow and how do you execute on that? Like, you have more of a tech background. So tell me about your co-founder's background, and then who do you hire first as you're like, how do we make this happen?
Well, we didn't, it wasn't like, who do we hire first? It was actually like, what do we do to prove the demand and prove the model and learn? Because you have to start with demand side first. Do you have anything that people care about enough to part with their money? And then what I learned at Madrona with the small team, when we had to do this very rapidly with lots of different ideas across, we looked at everything from like AI enhanced security cameras to like divorce in a box online services. Like, it's crazy. Like, so many,
which may be relevant right now. Everybody's like hiding from their spouse.
And part of the fun of that was the candy store of ideas, but what was missing was like, I got to do something with a mission and go all in,
Yeah.
So, but one of the things we learned in that was like, you've got to start with the demand side, and you've got to get really good at quickly getting 80-20 rule conviction around it, And a lot of people will say, what's your MVP? Let's prototype. But that's not the first step. The first step is like, talk to people. We were like, I remember as clear as day, when we first talked about the idea as like, well, that's an entrepreneurial opportunity. It was even before doing the market research that it's, just beef is 100 billion. add another, 30 billion for pork and add another 16 billion for seafood. Before you did all that math and realized, wow, this is big, we were like, well, do people care? And I remember, it was like, well, hey, the easiest way to find out is you call 10 people right now and I'll do the same thing. So we literally, we separated ourselves in the cafe.
Just called friends
And we just called people, call neighbors, friends, acquaintances.
Interesting.
People that will give you honest feedback, and just pitch them the elevator pitch and see what they say, see what their questions and reactions are, and just get a baseline. Because usually what you'll get is a spectrum from like, don't understand it, to lots and lots of questions, to like, I want to support you because you're my friend, to like,
Did you ever get like, do I get to specifically say which firm? Almost like I want to support a school, but I get to say which school?
Yeah. I mean, at that time, the idea was that we were testing was like, imagine Portlandia, that episode where they know the chicken's name. And,
yeah, I loved that episode. Yes.
Yeah. So imagine a website with like a single cow for sale on a website with this farm story right there in a video. All the shares, like all the different kinds of cuts of meat are all available in different packages. And you are claiming a share with 50 other people, random strangers on the internet. And when all the shares are claimed, the cow tips and you become a stakeholder. And the idea would be, at that point, we handle the rest. It shows up at your door in a box. Super convenient. And everyone was just like, that's amazing. I would do that right now.
Were you scared about the idea of, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, but the risk or the legalities around, like, what if somebody got sick from the beef?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I remember, well, I remember about 6 months in where things kind of got out and it was in the press and we had more demand than we could service by far, because it was like the two of us and a few contractors, we were really scrapping by. And I remember thinking, like, because it started with our friends, and they're friends of friends, and it was sort of all traceable back to the customer who knew us in personal. And then it was like, suddenly it was like total random strangers. And it was like, yeah, the seriousness of food safety, taking that seriously is real. I don't want my house taken away. I don't want, to hurt someone. And so we were, it is a very different business, not pure software. So we had to do all that stuff in the very buttoned up way from the beginning for those reasons and to scale that. But also very tangible in the sense, like, we both have young kids. Ethan does, and my son was 5 at the time.
Yeah, you can like explain what you do. This is what Daddy does.
It's like, Daddy, what do you do? Well, I do blockchain futures for SaaS optimization of cloud, blah, blah, blah. No,
that's half my clients. I'm like, I don't really know something about SaaS.
No, it's great. I took him to I remember one day I screwed up the timing and he had like a day off school. It was like a random like teacher workshop day or something. And I didn't realize that. And I was heading to my first slaughter that day.
Come on,
so I was like, come on you're going to a slaughter. You're 5 years old. You're coming to a slaughter. And I'm calling the farmer from my cell phone. I'm like, hey, I'm bringing my son, because is that going to scar him for life? Are we okay? And he was like, no, Joe, it's going to be great. This is so the way we do it. You'll see. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful, honorable thing. And kids, especially that age, they get it. And they help explain him, talk to him about where his meat comes from and work all the way back to the farm and narrow in and have him realize, and it was beautiful. It really was.
That is beautiful. And how did you first start to get the word out? Was it just word of mouth, or did you do, what was your marketing plan as far as making consumers aware of CrowdCow in the beginning?
We had a lot of it was word of mouth at the very beginning, and we had some press. We were, feature article in the Guardian, and we were in the New York Times early on.
Yeah.
And because it's such a crazy, ridiculous thing we were doing at the time. So we had wait lists and email to convert the wait list to customer for a very long time. And then we eventually were doing a referral program, some paid social ads, SEO, everything. Now it's very, kind of more traditional online marketing.
Right. And so I read the trickle transparency, which I love because I think that, and I also was fascinated to just kind of read up, just getting ready for this podcast. I had no idea that 80% or 86% of beef sold in the US is controlled by just 4 companies. So I'm sure during this time with all the supply chain issues and what you said was featured on the Today Show, that those companies are being severely impacted. And how does that create kind of a window of opportunity for
Yeah.
Crowd Cow? And yeah, I'm
It
just
is.
curious about that.
So transparency, to your first part of your question, just
Yeah.
means I think transparency means being open and honest, and it means respecting the other side, your customer or your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to be transparent with you, Shauna, about something that happened because I'm going to be open and honest because I respect you. I care to share with you everything.
Mm-hmm. And in what way has the beef industry not been transparent? Because I don't know a lot about it. I know that there's like labels, and what do those labels mean? And what does grass-fed or US product mean?
I have to be, I'm so open-minded. I believe that people act in their best intentions always, and so you do see things happen in the context of retail that look like it's a bad intention, but I don't believe that's necessarily true, even though, so for example, there's just not a lot of room in a retail environment to do good storytelling or marketing or transparency. There's just not. So what do they have this much time and that much space. And that's where you end up getting little labels or
like the orange label you were talking about.
Yeah, cage-free chicken, and you get just these words that you don't know what they mean.
Well, I have no idea what they mean.
No one does. I mean, and so then the bloggers come in and they go say, "I'm going to find out," and they take a webcam down there and they write a story, and then you read that and you're like, "That's not what I thought it meant."
Yeah,
and you feel deceived a lot of times. So, and one of the things that drew us to this idea of like radical transparency and empowering better choices was like, hey, I don't want to tell a farmer what to do, and I don't want to tell a consumer what to eat. My role, bring them closer together, make things much more transparent, and have better choices.
Yeah.
But they're the foundation of like avoiding practices that are bad for the environment or bad for local communities or bad for, there's a hard line on some certain things. But beyond that, let's let this incredible variety, like the way you raise cattle in Montana, I'll tell you, is very different than how you raise it in North Texas.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Think about just the weather.
Yeah, I guess that is a thing. These are all things that like I'm not thinking about.
So when we think about like, people talk about the grass-fed this and grain finished that, and do you use a open pasture? And I mean, open pasture, if the pasture is a desert, is very different than if a pasture is actually a pasture. And so people are adapting to their local environments. And I think that being transparent is the core of the brand, if you will.
I'm sure that's created incredible loyalty and repeat customers. So what is the business model exactly, and how many farms are you sourcing from, or where are you getting all the animal products?
We have producers across 22 states, roughly. Okay. So they're coming from all over the United States, mostly. And then we have some Japanese Wagyu from Japan, occasionally some beef and lamb from New Zealand and Australia, a little bit in the mix. But 99% of it is US based, except for the Japanese Wagyu, put it that way. And that's because we're a supply chain. We're not buying, beef. We're actually working with these producers and the processors. And that's why we're not the big four concentrated. We've built our own supply chain. That's why right now, as you're seeing meat shortages and websites with delayed shipping times and wait lists, we're still open for business.
Yeah. And how incredible do you feel that you're keeping these small businesses in business?
Yeah. That's a big motivator for me personally, and the team who's stepped up massively, which is a lot of, think about just like farms raise animals, processors cut it into steaks and cuts. These processors that we work with, they're mom and pop or multi-generational companies, small businesses, and they're very regionally focused. So when you go to a nice restaurant, you may see the name of a farm on the menu, probably came from one of these little guys. Well, all of that business just dropped to zero, the restaurant. Yeah. And so, but we are also working with them and farms to do the online thing. So when this all happened, we just called all of them and said, like, what are you seeing? Here's what we're seeing. And
how can we help? And
let's get that diverted. And it's like the great leap forward in our business, because we can help them get more of that to our customers online and keep everything running in a big old family, this supply.
And so I know that obviously the name Crowd Cow originated in selling beef, and now you've got poultry and pork
Yeah.
and
Seafood.
fish, seafood.
We've got shrimp coming this week and
Shrimp.
scallops and crab.
What have you learned about those industries, and how do they all differ, and how are those being impacted right now, those industries?
Everything is, like it's kind of the spectrum of how much your business as a small producer or a processor depended on restaurant trade. And it's simple as that. So if you were a small farm near an urban center doing all farmers market, well, I think that's been impacted too. But if you've been doing your own sales direct and into like niche grocery store and a customer list of your own and online through CrowdCow, you're doing well, you're okay, you're protected. But if you were shifted to some of that to depend on restaurants, that part was like, oh no. What I found mostly is that the restaurant demand has been made up for with the retail demand. So even with groceries. So
I'm sure.
Even people who are pretty balanced are okay. As you get into the premium products, like, when was the last time you had king crab at home? It's a restaurant thing, right? So there's certain product categories that are more dependent on restaurant, and those are more difficult, in terms of they have a harder shift.
Well, we've got Mother's Day coming up, so maybe I'll, make a request for some sort of.
And we're helping there. There's actually a guy on Mercer Island. He lives on Mercer Island, and he's a second generation founder of the seafood company that's very much specializes in beautiful, sustainably caught red king crab from Alaska. And he has all the fishermen, and he does the processing and splitting them. And we're going to help him sell that product. And he's like a neighbor. I would be hanging out with him as we're doing business, but we're like on Zoom, even though we're like literally.
Yeah. You got to stay on Zoom. So the business model is you guys are the conduit between bringing people together, bringing people closer to farms or closer to. Okay.
We're the retailer. We're the retailer, and the way we operate is like a e-commerce consignment model. So we're actually, we also the shipper. So, it's got to get to you quickly with a text message notification with the right amount of dry ice based on the temperature and the weather on the right day. Wow. Integrated customer experience.
It's complicated, but not complicated business.
It is very complicared. We make it simple for the customer.
A lot of details.
We own that fulfillment capability, which is something I'm very proud of. That took, it's taken years to build. And another reason we're in business today, in spite of everything that's going on, because we own and control that piece of it. We don't use 3PL. We were able to immediately, when this hit, invest in scaling up those facilities with more hiring people. We're hiring people. We're hiring great people.
Yeah, that's another subject that I want to talk about. But so the business model is you get paid by the consumer. You take a piece of it from both sides.
The consumer's paying, and we're negotiating with producers and supply chain to cover those costs of production and packaging and so forth. And the inventory is on a consignment model, or like a marketplace is the easiest way to think about that.
Okay, got it. And so to date, you've raised about a little over 25 million, right? Yeah. And how has that process been? And it sounds like you came in right before this whole thing hit and raised around.
Lucky. I feel very lucky.
What would you say to those out there thinking about raising right now, like in this moment?
Yeah.
Because you've been on many sides of the entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah. What I would tell people about fundraising is, first of all, that the pitch is slightly different. The needs in the business that you have to demonstrate are different based on the stage. That's a fundamental. So go and understand that. I won't explain it right now, but depending on the stage, the fundamental pitch is different. But the biggest kind of mistake I see at all those stages when I see other entrepreneurs and they're like, here's our pitch. What do you think? Usually like seed stage, it'd be like, we have this idea, and with just the money, we can go do that idea. We can go build the thing. And it's like, usually that's not a good pitch. Like the pitch of we need money to go build X is not a good pitch. Meaning what people really, it's like, hey, I want money to go build a hotel. All right. Why are you building a hotel? Where is the hotel? How much money is this hotel going to generate? Why is that hotel a good business? How's it going to be competitive? You need to have the ROI in your pitch. So like here's how I have proven this thing, and how capital is just going to be like fuel to make it go faster fuel. Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
So right now, I think what's difficult in the market is this tsunami of change that is happening in society, it's very easy for investors they're all going to say like, we're still doing deals, but really they're just saying that because they don't want to lose deal flow.
They don't want to lose out. Yeah.
Yeah. So really what they're going to do, it's really easy to say, we're going to wait and see what happens here because there's so much uncertainty, and uncertainty is opportunity, but it's easier to say no and not lose than to be wrong about something. So they're just going to be a little more conservative. And the other challenge is going to be, if your business needs to change fundamentally, that's not a good pitch. Like, hi, we need money because we need to change. And without the money, we can't change. And if we don't change, we're not going to succeed. Where's the ROI in that? I mean, there is an ROI in there, but it's not, they need straight line ROI pitch. We're going to do this. It's proven. This is fuel, makes it go faster. And so that's going to be the big hill to climb for most people. And that's why you're seeing, I think, a lot of savvy entrepreneurs like immediately cut back to buy runway so they can have the time to go figure out what that pitch is and if they need more capital or to become profitable.
How did you originally fund the business? Did you get venture funding, or did you bootstrap it? Or I can't remember.
We did bootstrap for the first year or so. And that was a function of again, we wanted to have that pitch that was like, this is proven. Here's the economics, here's how big the market is. We didn't know like how many farms there were or if they would be willing to work with us.
And do your board members and your investors, are any of them like vegan? Like, do they all totally get this business? And are they passionate about it like you, or are they just more on the business side? Like, hey, let's show me the money, like show me the ROI.
I remember, Scott Jacobson was our lead investor from the last, the A round.
I almost called him before this to be like, give me some secret questions to ask Joe, but I didn't want to.
He's great.
I love Scott.
Scott is so great. I remember he's, because Scott's he's a great investor in the sense of very capable of diving very deep into the models, the numbers, the mechanics, and also simultaneously the strategy and the flywheels. But I remember, and one thing we were really impressed with him is how quickly he dove in, understood the questions, and how he was able to help. Have you thought about this? And what about this opportunity? And we thought that'd be valuable. But one of the things that really I loved about those fast and furious days right before the funding and the A round was he actually said, kind of as a side note, he goes, and what you're doing is like important. Like actually, like it feels good to, this is the right thing. Like
absolutely.
It's good to like, you could tell he had in his criteria, it was like, this is a business that's worthy to exist. It's a good force in the world. And I want, I always tell people like, everyone around the table should have high founder empathy, right? You don't have founder empathy, it can be really hard, but you also want the mission,
just have different values. It would be really challenging in those board meetings.
It would be really hard.
Yeah, super challenging. Well, that's great. So with that kind of that feel good thing, tell me a little bit more about your partnership with Arbor Day Foundation. And why this carbon impact is different. I mean, it comes in styrofoam when we get it at the grocery store. And how are you packaging?
Yeah. So it's always been extremely important to Ethan and I to have a company that is environmentally better than the alternative. One of the ways in which we would like to reinvent the meat world as a category, not just the connection to the producers, the transparency, is the environmental impact. And so really exciting, it's a scale game. Getting the economics to work it's unlocking at different scale and maturity to understand the business, to understand what you can afford to do. We about a year and a half ago cut over to 100% fully compostable insulation. So whereas much of the perishable food you order online comes to you with styrofoam, which doesn't break down and can't be recycled.
Like ever, right? Doesn't styrofoam it's really bad.
It's really bad. It's, however, very good as a thermal insulator, and it's
for
cheap.
Sure.
And so the environmentally sustainable and responsible alternatives to that, is a matter of scale and being able to work closely with those providers and make it work for both parties. And we were able to achieve that last year. So it's like it rinses away in your sink and it goes back to the earth. And
how did you even find out about it? Or that's a whole other category of learning. Like now I got to learn about this whole
Well, people do come to you and I think people see what our brand stands for and they go, I think your customers would like this. And they come to
Yeah.
us in some cases. A lot of these
Well, I'm sure
companies
it's the
5 years
same
ago were,
customer, the customer
yeah,
that cares deeply about what they're putting in their body, cares
yeah,
deeply about the earth.
yeah. And these guys who
And
start these kind of companies are the similar minded people. Like if I'm going to do something with my time on earth, I want it to have a good, side effect as well as being a good business
yeah,
to the environment. So that's why they started these companies.
yeah,
Arbor Day, to answer your question, we just this year uh, announced that we figured out a way to make every shipment, everything you buy on CrowdCow, end to end from farm, all including methane, the things on the farm, all the way to your door, is 100% certified carbon neutral. So
that's
accounting for
amazing.
all greenhouse gases in every single purchase period. We're working with Arbor Day Foundation. They're a large nonprofit, the largest nonprofit conservation dedicated to planting trees. And we're working with them to fund two specific projects. One is restoring depleted farmland in the Mississippi River Valley, and the other one is a project that works against the threatened forest lands at the Amazon headwaters in Peru. So we feel really good about that. I think a lot of our customers want that, and they want to know that they can have their cake and eat it too, like that they're
Absolutely.
doing good.
Wow. If there's I'm seeing a theme. There's like transparency, empathy. It's a lot of, do these translate into your kind of company values? And how do you kind of recruit against those values? How do you measure
Yeah, I
those
think
that you're hiring and their values?
great companies hire and fire by their culture, and so it's I look for candidates that are like, I went to your values and I looked at those, and here's how they compare to my last company, here's what I liked about them. And I love candidates like that because it means they care about culture,
Yeah,
and that makes my job so much easier.
absolutely.
And in a startup where it can be very demanding and there can be changes and chaos, the values is what keeps people
Mm-hmm.
collaborating. We have, win as a team as a core value, be transparent is a core value. And so ownership mentality and being intentional, these kinds of things, which
Yeah.
are definitely geared towards like, we're here to win and to do big things. Our aspirations are, even though we were once laughed at, they are rooted in, they've never changed, which is we want to have a lasting and huge impact. It started with like, a company that my 5-year-old could relate to, and all the way up to like, we can actually change the food system and have impact, like with our
Yeah.
time on earth. And
Yeah.
so we got to have people who are in it like that. And that includes the producers too.
Yeah.
They've got to be willing to co-invest in that vision together
Yeah.
with us.
Absolutely. And so how have you found this time to be either challenging or rewarding as a leader? How have you kept your team inspired? Obviously, you have a gift that you are busy. Some
Yeah.
companies are like, what do we do right now?
Yeah.
And you said that they've really stepped up.
Yeah, definitely.
How has it been for you in this moment of leadership?
I mean, for me personally, you've got the personal life disruption and then the work life disruption. For me personally, very lucky, both of those.
You got the cool office at the
I've got an
background.
office. I mean, I know not everyone has that, so there's where empathy plays in. But
and a door, which is extra good.
a bathroom.
And a bathroom. Yeah.
Kids, from babies to like kids are out of the empty nester. There's your personal life disruption matrix right there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, on that dimension, I'm in a great spot. My kid is very independent, no issues. On the business, I'm so grateful that like we have a job to do that's really more important than ever on every side of it, from our producers to the customers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's inspired us all to step up massively and do our best work. The best work of our careers can happen right now. Like, this is our moment. So first it was, when this hit, it was like safety and security of our teams, the frontline workers packing orders, as well as HQ. How can we get people at home and productive? And then it was like, what does this mean for us? Mm-hmm. And realizing that it meant this uptick in demand that then, as it became clear, would be sustained. It was like, wow, do we have the right strategy? Yes. Lucky. We don't have to change our strategy. We just have to execute really well. This is our game day moment. Mm-hmm. So it was really, asking everyone to step up, including myself, and get deeply involved to make sure we have the right goals and that's scale, margin, retention. Like if we can keep up with this demand, but at the same time improve margin and improve
Yeah.
retention.
How much has the demand increased since COVID-19 hit?
400%.
What? Oh my gosh. High-fiving. We're dancing, we're high-fiving, I'm high-tenning. That's amazing. Joe.
So far.
Dude,
so far.
That's
and then
great.
I think the third thing is health. I think we got to take care of our health, eat well, exercise every day. I try to check in with friends, like not just work, but like just you call. I've been like, it's funny. It's a moment where everyone's much more able to get on video randomly,
Yeah.
People are at home, you can reach them. So I've been calling random friends just that I haven't talked to since pre-COVID to check in. And
absolutely. And it is a time for connection. And that is a beautiful thing that's coming out of this, that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, like reconnecting with college friends or high school friends, or having a moment to do something creative or pick up a new hobby.
I'm never going to forget that, to express gratitude that we have a positive moment to really step up and do great. And I know that years from now, we're all at CrowdCow going to have the very best story for what was like for you during COVID. Let me tell you.
Absolutely.
And I'm very cognizant of the fact that we're kind of like the best case scenario. And there's many other people that are undergoing such economic hardship.
Yes.
And I feel very lucky and very grateful. But because of that, doubly must step up and do our best work.
Yeah. And you're keeping all of these. I really love the idea of keeping all of these families fed in a better and more sustainable way, but also all of the farmers and all their families and those third generation companies, the packaging companies. I mean, all of it. So there's a lot of good. It's not like you're just, woohoo, we're making all this money, look at us. It's all good stuff.
Totally.
So you must feel great about that. And so you mentioned earlier that you're in a position to recruit. How do you plan on identifying and drawing in talent while you're working remotely, and also sensing, are they a fit? Are they not a fit? Are you good at that over video?
I haven't felt impacted by that at all. I think it's easier than a phone call. I used to do, when it was remote phone screens audio. I think video is much better, actually.
Absolutely, yeah. And what about if you're hiring engineers? Are you planning on doing whiteboarding exercises, or how are you going to screen out engineering talent?
Yeah, I mean, we do some. Here's a little try this project thing, or I'll give you a little thing to do, and why don't you take a crack, and then we'll talk about it. Walk me through your code kinds of things. I think those things are important for engineering.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing for writing, let's give writing samples and see them and talk about them. And then you take what they've written and say, okay, now give me a variant of that's funny, or that's, and see if they can think on their feet and show the versatility. Yeah.
Are you guys doing anything as a team to stay connected over like happy hour or Pictionary or Crazy Hat Day or whatever? I'm hearing all sorts of stories.
We were iterating for a long time around different things. And of course, happy hours actually emerged as one of the best one. It's easy, it's fun. And we do a theme, where someone will take the theme and they're weekly and do like, trivia and it's kind of cliche. Some of the time. They're fun.
They're fun.
We did a trivia contest around like cattle and pig breeds.
I would have lost. I would not have been a good teammate for that trivia.
It's a matter of pride and embarrassment at CrowdCow.
I'm sure. Yeah, you gotta know your beef and your pig and your all of it, your chickens, all of it. And so when you're having like downtime, because it sounds like you're working your tail off right now, but you're having downtime, are you finding new ways of relaxing, or have you found any tools for efficiencies at work, or just any nuggets we can take of kind of what's Joe doing that's new during this time, and what are you going to take with you, hopefully?
We do family movie night with popcorn. Me personally, I said I try to exercise. I sometimes do just kind of like, as I'm at work intense, then with my family intense, and I just need me time. So I kind of like, okay, I'm going to go work. And then I go to my office and I just watch I've been watching Fauda.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Binge watching that, like reading books.
Oh,
I'm reading Dan
so
Price's.
good. I haven't read Dan Price's book yet, but he told me he's going to be on the pod. We've been planning it for a long time, and I definitely want to get him on there.
Great book. I love Dan. I met Dan, fortunately, before he became world famous.
Yeah.
And
before he's like with his abs.
Oh God.
You follow him on Instagram. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great guy. Interesting, unique person. And
yeah, he's such a sweetheart.
Telling the story, the book is so well written. Anyways, highly recommend that book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through.
Okay, I'm going to read it.
So reading, playing guitar.
Yeah. Where's your guitar? You give us a little tour. Show us. There's a bed, right?
There's a.
Is that embarrassing?
I have the little couch day bed right here.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I'm not a good power napper.
Oh, yeah,
I am not good at it. Once I'm out for like 2-3 hours. So that wouldn't be a good thing for me because
This is my little. I actually bought this when we were in Spain as a spontaneous purchase because they're really cheap. And this was much cheaper than the same quality.
What kind of guitar is it?
Not that I know. Guitarras Camps, Spanish.
Yeah. Are you like good, or are you just messing around on the guitar? Let's hear some jamming. Oh, it sounds really good in my headphones. You're really good.
I have a lot of time to practice.
You're really good. Do you ever
I can't do much more than that.
You're really good. When the social distancing is done, we'll get you out on the deck and we'll put on the fire and have a jam session. You're really good.
Thank you. It's very, for me, it's very relaxing to just be in my own little world and just.
How long have you been playing?
I played a lot in like high school, like in a band and all that crap. And then I put it away for a very long time. And then I got back into acoustic. Yeah.
Yeah, you're really, really good. That's a fun guilty pleasure because it's fun for the other people in the house.
Well, my family doesn't like it. I don't know.
Oh, I love it. It's so relaxing for me. It's to listen to.
Yeah. Concerts for myself here.
You yourself and you in your little office. No, it's good. It's good. Well, I'm super grateful that you joined us, and we have lots to learn from you as far as doing good and leadership and just all of it. I'm a huge CrowdCow fan.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, no, of course. And I can't wait. I'm sure next time I talk to you, you're going to be up like 1,600%. I mean, it's exponential. And I hope that the word gets out even more through this podcast because I want to do whatever I can to support you and my friends.
Thank you.
In this time. So thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.
Glad you're doing this podcast. It's really cool.
It's been fun. Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you for listening to the What Fuels You podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, and follow us on social media to keep up with the latest news and episodes. You can also contact us at podcast@fueltalent.com to provide feedback, ask questions, and share topics or guests you would like us to cover in the future. We hope you feel inspired by our guests and that we have helped fuel your day. Join us next time for another episode of What Fuels You.